Good morning. Let's start.
We are on the third page. We are about to start the paragraph with when this universe, the second paragraph. When this universe was without brightness and without light, and everything was enveloped in darkness on all sides, the great egg came into being.
Right. So there was a time when this universe was enveloped in darkness. That is called as Sat, right? And in his purpose of birth and death, that is called as Satyam, right? Sat. Sat means just isness, just to be. So we try to experience this darkness as a point of silence within ourselves. And within ourselves, there is one point which is always in that state of inky darkness, total darkness. And if we can move into that point within ourselves and try to experience that point where there's total silence, there is no what you call becoming of anything because there's just pure isness, pure being over there. There is no knowledge of being. There is knowledge of being in the sense that it is what you call uh, it is woven within the darkness, but there is no active what you call effort to know. There is no active effort to know, and that point lies within all of us even now. So when we talk of the universe, we may talk in terms of past, present, and future, but this point is now and within us, and we can dissolve into that point at any point. And that is that point of inky darkness which he's talking about. So when this universe was without brightness, because brightness equals to time, light equals to time. The minute time comes in, we are bound by the laws of time, right? So the first, what you call bandhan, the first, what you call, is the desire, because the egg is desire. The egg is the desire to continue. The egg is the desire to, uh, what you call, be eternal, not to lose our entity, right? So that egg came into being. And this was called the golden egg, Hiranyagarbha, the golden egg, right? Hiranyagarbha, right? The golden egg. So in that inky darkness, there was that desire to become, the desire to create, the desire that I am one, I want to become many. Ekoham bahusham. The desire that from one the many should be created, the variety, the diversity of the universe must be created from that one, and that was it is symbolized by the egg of Brahman, right? That egg was there in that and empty darkness.
This was the inexhaustible seed of all creatures and was created at the beginning of all the eras.
So it was created at the beginning of all the eras, right? All the eras, right? This egg, right? And that egg within us is the seed to go back. So within us, every human being, there is a seed. Most people live life without giving water to that seed, right? But if we can give water to the seed, when we used to uh, study botany in school, for the germination of a seed, three things are necessary: air, water, and suitable temperature, right? Similarly, the inner seed, which is in everyone, It is that seed which created this diversity, and it is that seed which will take us back beyond this diversity. Right? So that egg, that seed is within everyone, and if it is given proper air, proper water, water means attention, right? Air means our breathing, right? And suitable temperature, right attitude, right? Then that seed can grow into something.
It is said that in this divine cause existed the eternal Brahman.
It was the egg of Brahman, the eternal Brahman. It was in that cause, the seed. The egg is the beginning of everything, right? Of course, there's always that, what do you call, catch 22 situation, whether the egg came first or the chicken came first. But the egg is the beginning of everything.
Uh, cause existed the eternal Brahman, true and resplendent, wonderful and beyond imagination, and perfectly balanced everywhere.
So we cannot visualize even what that egg was, what it was, right? Uh, After he wrote the Mahabharat, uh, Vyasji one day was sitting in a state of, what do you call, not our depression, but his depression, spiritual depression, right? And Narad comes to him and he says, I've written the Puranas, I've written the Mahabharat, everything has been written. Now what to do? Now what to do? And people are workaholics. He must have been a workaholic. Yeah. So Narad says, now you write one more extolling the beauty of Krishna, extolling the, what do you call, the splendor of Krishna, right? Praising Krishna. So then he wrote one more Shastra called the Bhagavad. And in May, I had taken a series on the life of Krishna, where I had taken many of the incidents from the Bhagavad. You may find it interesting. The last one was on the death of Krishna, right? So uh, he was sitting there, and so he's saying that it is that egg is so beautiful, right? So then he writes this one thing on the Bhagavad, and it is on the life of Krishna, and it's as beautiful as the Mahabharata, as beautiful as the Mahabharata, and as deep as the Mahabharata, right? Hmm.
This, uh, this was the subtle, unmanifested cause.
It was the unmanifested cause, subtle cause. You know, if two people are in love, right? And they have this thing in the old Hindi movies. I don't know if they have in the new Hindi movies. I haven't seen a Hindi movie in 30 years, right? But in the old Hindi movies, they used to have this, that both will be in love and both will be sitting on a bench. This one doesn't know that that one knows, and this one doesn't know that that one knows, right? And each one is waiting for the other to say it, right? So he's saying, what do you call, pelle up goes on in the mind, but nobody says it, right? So, uh, uh, what do you think is the situation between both of them? Tension. We'll call it as stress. We'll call it as stress, right? So, similarly, in God, in that supreme creation, Satyam, right? There was the desire to create. There was the desire to create, right? And that created something what we call a cosmic stress, a state of cosmic stress, where forces were being, in that inky darkness, forces were in a sort of balance. But suddenly that desire was there, forces were being stressed. And there was that moment where somebody is going to say it, that I love you. Somebody is going to say it. Similarly, that moment is when that egg is going to come out. And that was the egg which was the cause of all things, the cause of all creatures, right? So, actually, whenever we are in a state of stress, we can go back to that. This was the beginning of the universe, was in a state of stress. No? In a state of stress.
It was that which exists and that which does not.
Wait a minute. I have to look for it. Was that which exists and that which does not. It was unmanifest. So it was there as a desire, so it existed. But because it was not manifest, it was not and it was is at the same time. Right? What does this does this tell us of our movement from lower to higher thinking? Come on. Examination. Examination. You've given the mic to them. What will this tell us of our no? It was unmanifest and it was manifest at the same time. Right? What will this tell us? Supposing it is giving us a kind of indication what comes in higher thinking and what is in lower thinking. Come on. Come on. The movement from duality to non-duality. Okay, little more. I've given everything now. Given everything. What is the basis of our thinking? So for comparison, what is necessary? Duality. Duality. Can you see? Right? So duality will mean that, yeah, in every thought there will be good, bad, like, dislike, yes, no, do it, not do it. Can you understand? Right? So every thought is a dual thought. Now, can there be a form of thinking where just to trigger the thought there may be a little comparison and we move into a form where yes merges into no and no merges into yes? It is manifest and not manifest at the same time. What kind of thought would that be? What kind of thinking would that be? Huh? Clarity, yeah. What else? It would be instead of comparison, there would be relativity. There would be relativity, right? What is, this person is doing something bad, so then we are in lower thinking. But what is that bad fulfilling as a function in the whole of things would be the relativity of that person. Can you understand what I'm trying to say? Right? So then bad and good just merges into one. He is bad and good at the same time. Right? So when we move from lower thinking, when we move from worldly thinking to spiritual thinking, there's a movement from duality to oneness, there's a merging of duality, and there's a movement from comparison to relativity. Comparison, right? So, and this takes a long time to be practiced. A long time. How will we practice it? How will we practice it? Come on, all of you are young. We'll practice it by falling in love. Now tell me. Now we'll tell me. Yeah.
Is it also the movement from being subjective to being objective?
No, it will still be subjective. It will still be subjective in the sense that I cannot make it as a rule for everybody. But it will be objective in the sense that it will be beneficial to everybody. Right? In that sense. But what I'm trying to say is that you have fallen in love. So, how does it go with the person you've fallen in love? Now, just explain to us. Tell us the story of everything. Come. There's somebody there at the back. He saved her, huh? He saved her. Too fast. He's a very impulsive guy. Very impulsive guy. Uh,
So I forgot now. I will try.
you have to wait. When somebody's caught in the trap, why do you open the door? Who wants it? Yeah, yeah. Give it to Ramesh.
Like when we are in love, we just come across all the good things of the other person also. So we have to keep in mind that at any point of time, the other side of her nature or his nature will come in front of us. So at that point of time, we have to even keep both the things, both the types of nature in front of us.
Right. Exactly. Exactly. How are we going to do it? How are we going to do it? For a long time, I used to practice when people were good to me and people were, what do you call, caring to me. At that time, I would just visualize, supposing the opposite was there this moment, what would it be like? And if that same person was very arrogant with me, very insulting to me, and suddenly I would allow both to merge into one. So every person we fall in love with, right? In the beginning, of course, it's very rosy, the what do you call? It's called the Velcro phase when you can't get them apart. They stick to each other, right? So we call it the Velcro phase, right? But a time comes when this person gets irritated with the other, right? This person gets upset with the other, and contradictions in the relationship start coming out. Now, if from the beginning I knew that the contradictions are hidden in this person, and every person has a dark side, right? So if I knew that the contradictions were, so when they come out, I would just let them merge into the complementary, right? So there would be really no contradictions. I know from the beginning, right? So then my thinking is now not in dual, I have merged the dualities. And this can be done in every relationship, every relationship. And to do this, we have to pause, bring in consciousness, merge the opposites. Pause, bring in consciousness, merge the opposites.
Like
Right?
if I were to share my experience,
Please do. Please.
like when the dark side of the person comes in front of me, like that type of behavior, so automatically, I don't know how, but then even the brighter side of the person just comes in front of me, and I can see the both type of behavior at the same time, and this helps me to maintain a balance.
Very good. Very
And
good.
so even while talking with any person, not just any one person, so I can just understand there is a balance. So if it goes this side, it helps. I just bring it back this side. It just helps me to maintain a balance in any relation, in any communications with any person.
Excellent. Very good. Whose back do I pat, yours or mine? Right. Okay. Thank you. So you got saved, Unnati. You got saved. You have a guardian angel somewhere, right? Okay. Did you remember?
No, yes, sir. That was the same point. Sir, when sir, during during initial period, we only see the rosy side, and when with time we also see the negative emotions also
So
too.
we can see both the sides together.
And also, sir, yes, sir. And also, sir, at one point of time, we realized that the negative which is I am seeing inside her, it is also within me, and it is also within most of them. So, a holistic approach we can see.
That
look
is
at it.
objective. That is, you're now becoming objective, right? So all the characters of the Mahabharat lie in everybody. So it is objective, right? So, but the idea is to see two together, to see two together. And when we see two together, we can merge them together, right? If you see in the actions of many great statesmen, they have this art of merging two together. Right? They will never take a one-sided stance, as if they are walking the middle path through everything. Right? So that is that art of a little higher thinking. Art of a little higher thinking. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. You have to speak in the mic. Lloyd, not allowed to speak without the mic. Same thing. Same. Pendulum is just a way of explaining it. It becomes much easier to explain it with the law of the pendulum. Right. What happens when you look at Lloyd? Right, and you know he's a karate champion and everything. Right. To be careful in talking to him. Okay. Can you, in recent politics, one example of this dual thinking? One example of this dual thinking. The day after, what do you call, the Hamas attacked the Israeli, the 7th of October. One example of what was Mr. Modi's statement? Can you see the example of dual thinking, where he's merging two opposites into one? He's merging two opposites into one.
उन्होंने दोनों साइड ही बात की थी कि टेररिस्ट को उन्होंने कंडेम किया था और साथ साथ में हमास को नॉट हमास फिलिस्तीन्स को एज अ उनको एड भी
Aid bheja. In one talk, he said, "We are with our Israeli brothers, but we are sending aid to the Gazans." Can you see? Now, this is where he's merging opposites. This is the sign of a statesman. The sign of a statesman, a person who now his thinking is of a little higher order. Mr. Tauria calls this as judicial thinking. I don't know if you read in his Yoga Sutra, he calls this as judicial thinking. Right? Okay.
Judicial reasoning.
Huh?
That term.
Pardon?
Judicial reasoning, he uses that term. Reasoning.
Judicial reasoning. Sorry, judicial reasoning. Good. The Guru is always there to correct us, right? Right. Okay. Bola, bola.
From this was born the one and only Lord Prajapati, known as Brahma, the preceptor of the gods.
So from that egg, who was born? Brahma, the creator. Brahma, the creator. Prajapati. Praja means people. Pati means the father. The father. Right? The one who gives birth to people.
In
He is
English,
all-
it's sorry.
Yeah.
In English, the people of the land are called subjects.
Right.
So subjects is where subjective comes from. Meaning the Brahma, the Prajapati, the lord of the subjects or the father of the people is objective and these are subjective. So that's how also it's in the English language the word is used. Just to bring it to your notice, that's all.
Yeah. We need more mics.
I just have one in my hand, so it's being used around this place.
Yeah, keep it.
So,
That's North India, South India.
so here,
South is where Yum is, the god of death. So we are sitting there, right? Okay.
so here there's one story about the Lord Prajapati, the Brahma, and also in the picture of Lord Vishnu we see that from the navel there is this Kamal, and from that Kamal also we see Lord Brahma there. So is there a difference between those two stories, and is there something between that?
No, there's no difference. See, in many these things they will say it is Vishnu in the what do you call ocean of milk, resting on Sheshnag, sleeping on, and from his navel Brahma emerged. That is the same egg. The same egg which I told. In the Bhagavad it is said in a different way. The beautiful story in the Bhagavad that the Pandavas are in Vanvas and Krishna has come to meet them in the Vanvas. And Krishna has come with his wife Satyabhama, and Satyabhama and Draupadi have long conversations, which I'm not a part of this, but it is there in the Mahabharat, which are very meaningful conversations. On Satyabhama telling her Draupadi what is her life with Krishna, and she is telling what is her life with the 5 Pandavas. And those conversations between Satyabhama and Draupadi are beautiful conversations. But anyway, Krishna comes to meet them. And at that time they see somebody in the night, there's some form coming towards them, and they see it is the Rishi Markande. And what do you call? Markande is the only person who is allowed to witness the dissolution of the universe. Everybody else has to dissolve. But the Rishi Markande is what you call allowed to watch the dissolution. So he's witness to creation and dissolution both. Right? So he comes and they, make him rest and eat food and they wash his feet and all that. And then he's sitting. Then Yudhishthir asks him to tell us what he witnesses at the time of. All this is very poetic because the whole Bhagavad is very poetic. Very poetic. So he says, I can only do it if Pitambar means Krishna, right? The one who's wearing yellow clothes, right? So he says, Pitambar sitting over there, if he gives me permission, I can. So Krishna says, yes, you talk to them about it. And then he explains the whole ocean of milk, what it means, and how he was swimming in that ocean of milk. There was no other humans around, right? And there in that ocean of milk, there was a, what do you call, Vadla de Suke, English word, banyan tree. There was a banyan tree. And on one of the branches of the banyan tree, there was this beautiful boy sitting. And he smiles at the boy smiles, young child smiles at him. And the child smiles and said, you come in my stomach. And then he goes in the stomach and he sees the whole of creation has been swallowed by this boy. Of course, it is Krishna he's talking about. Okay. So there we have this wonderful description of this. But here, of course, he says that from that emptiness the egg came, and from the egg Brahma came. See, this very thing in different what you call Puranas and everything will be approached from different angles. It is multi-dimensional in a way. Yeah.
He he is also known as Thanu, Manu, Ka, and Parameshtin.
Yeah, I haven't gone into all these words. We'll bypass all these words. Yeah.
From him was born Daksha, the son of Prachetas, and Daksha's 7 sons, and the 21 Prajapatis.
So Daksha was the creator of all the population. Daksha Prajapati, he is called. And he was the son of Brahma. He was the son of Brahma.
Him whom all the sages know.
Now, if you read the purpose of birth and death, when you compare this, and Mr. Tavaria is talking about Satyam, and then he's talking about Madhyama Satyam, and then he's talking about what you call Vyakta Satyam. He divides Satyam into 3 parts, right? And then he comes to Tapa. And in Tapa, he says it's still the, what you call, Paramatma. It is still the divine wholeness, not the divine fragment, right? It is still the divine wholeness, but in that there is a movement of forces where 7 what you call rays are created, and he explains those 7 rays over there. So just go back to this.
From him was born Daksha, the son of Prachetas, and Daksha's 7 sons.
Yeah, 7 sons of Daksha, right? So again, you see all this. Mr. Tavaria has put it in scientific form in the purpose of birth and death. Right?
Him whom all the sages know as being who cannot be fathomed was
Nay,
also,
and the 21 Prajapatis.
and the 21
And when we see
Prajapatis.
the movement of those 7 forces, they combine with the 3 gunas and they form 21 pranas. So he says, in Bhulok there are 7 pranas, in Bhuvalok there are 7 pranas, in Swahalok there are 7 pranas. And he has explained those. So he's able to see this. He doesn't have to visualize this. And he has written this down in purpose of birth and death, the same thing. Right?
Him whom all the sages know as the being who cannot be fathomed was also born, as were the Vishwadevas, the Adityas, the Vasus, and the Ashwins.
Right.
Yak,
So all these celestial beings came into being at that time. Adityas, those who came out of Aditi, right? Aditya also means the sun, the 7 suns, right? The Vasus, the one who Bhishma was the 8th Vasu. Bhishma was the 8th Vasu. The Ashwins, the twin energy. There is dual energy and there's twin energy, and there's a difference between both of them. Twin energy is what we call the twins, Ashwini Nakshatra, right? The what do you call the doctors of the gods, the twin energy, Ashwins, right?
Yakshas, Sadhyas, Pishach, Guhyaks, and the Pitras were born, and after that were born the learned, holy, and superior Brahma Rishis.
Yeah. So yakshas, right? Those forms of celestial beings who look after nature, right? Sadhyas, the one who give you siddhis. Pisachas, the ghosts from the past. Guhyakas, those who keep things hidden, right? And the Pitris, that is the Pitrus actually they should be, that is the unfulfilled desires of our forefathers, the unfulfilled desires of our forefathers, right?
Sahab, what was the Guyakas?
The one who keep things hidden. Guyas are the, what do you call, followers of Kuber. So they look after treasure and they don't allow us to, we may be walking past the treasure.
And the Pishachas?
Pisach is those who thought forms which come from the past. So if you recite the what do you call? I mean, thought forms which are formed in the future are pisach, and thought forms which are formed in the past are bhoot. Bhoot, right? So uh, pisach is a thought form waiting to occupy my mind in the future, and they sometimes take on terrible forms, right? Many times we are able to see them in dreams and visualize them in dreams and work with them in dreams. One of the things about I've written a note on the seven underworlds. If you can bring that in the afternoon, then we can make this a little more clear, right? Right. Right. Seven underworlds. Seven underworlds. I talked in detail about. Huh? Right. So the Pisach, they uh, they take very beautiful forms. They are very ugly and very, what do you call, frightening beings. And they take very ugly, very beautiful forms, and they, I mean, they seduce you as if they are attacking you, right? And the whole energy is a highly strung sexual energy, and they come from these underworlds. They come from these underworlds, right?
It's in the Odyssey. The
The
same
what?
thing. The Odyssey, Iliad. Homer's
Iliad and
Odyssey.
Odyssey. Iliad and Odyssey. Yeah. Iliad and Odyssey.
Where the mermaids, they
Right.
call out, they sing these lovely songs and they turn out to be grotesque, ugly people or women. And the sailors, they take the sailors to Medusa.
And they can take really beautiful forms, right? And then once you have to extract them from your body, you have to pull them out like this, and it's a very difficult task, and then they go back to their original terrible form at that time. So that is Pisach. So in the Hanuman Chalisa we have Bhut Pisach Nikat Nahi Aave, right? So that Pisach. Hmm? Naam suna hai. Right? Well, your wife will be very lucky, yaar, Bhavin. Bhut pisach nahi aave. I mean, his wife is going to be very lucky. The way he looks after me for 2 months in South Africa, so well he looks after me. I mean, so whoever he marries is going to get looked after. Bolo. Yeah.
And after that were born.
Have you felt uh, that something is hidden here, something is hiding it over here? Have you ever felt something? Mr. Tavaria could see. Mr. Tavaria could see. We had a huge bungalow in Bombay. And we were trying to sell the bungalow. So I told, sir, you come one day at least. If your feet come, we will sell it off soon. So he came on my birthday. On my birthday, he came, he sat, had a Coca-Cola, and then he closed his eyes and he says, within a few months, you'll get an excellent price for this bungalow. Then he said something else, that the person who buys it, એનું ન્યાલ થશે. એટલે what to say in English? Okay, his fortune will rise by leaps and bounds. That person who buys this, yeah, he will prosper like anything. So now what happened? We sold it at a very high price. Uh, and this was 1995 or so. And within 6 months or a year, the prices of real estate in Bombay started crashing like anything, right? So the person could have got it at nearly half the price. The person could have got it at nearly half the price, but he had already bought it from us at that high price. So I was wondering, uh, how is it that he is going to, what do you call, when Mr. Tawaria's words that you will sell it in a few months, that you will get a very good price, half the deal was done. But I was wondering, that poor guy who has bought this, of course, he was a very big builder, so it wouldn't make any difference to him, right? So, how is it going to this thing? So, I asked his man, the person who was in between all these deals. He says, I'm telling you something in this thing, that when we dug below the kitchen, gold bars came out of the kitchen, right? So when Mr. Tavaria was having the Coca-Cola, he saw the gold bars, but he didn't allow me to have them. Can you see? So that's life, huh? You go ahead.
Sometimes does this also happen with some new insight or knowledge? We feel that we are almost there, but we are just not able.
The knowledge is hidden. The knowledge is hidden. You have to unlock knowledge, and higher knowledge has to be unlocked. I remember I had many years ago, I'm talking much before I met Mr. Tavaria, I had this hobby of collecting statues from temples. I would roam around in the jungles and look for old temples and try to steal a statue from there or something. And so then I found this one statue in the one temple in the Gir forest, and it was full of excellent carvings. They must have been about the Gupta period, and I mean, you can think of the value of those what do you call carvings today, right? And the whole temple was old. It was completely covered. There was nothing. No one knew about it. So I went with 2, 3 people. Let's make a clearing and try to this thing. And when we started this thing, I mean, snakes in the hundreds started coming out. There was no way we could, move further over there. So when you're talking about Guhya, right, when things are hidden and things are protected, this is the thing. Now I realize that that was a wrong hobby which I had, but of course, right. Yeah.
And after that were born the learned, holy, and superior Brahmarshis.
Superior Brahmarishi, right. So the Brahmarishis were superior. There was the expanding consciousness. Have we taken the 4 states of consciousness? We've taken the 4 states. So everybody knows the 4 states. So there's the subjective state of consciousness, which is the Rajarshi, and the objective state of consciousness, which is the Brahmarshi, right? So in the objective state of consciousness, there are no boundaries. In the subjective state of consciousness, there is self-consciousness. This is Rajarshi, right? Okay. Yeah.
No, there's a temple in South India, no, where that one last thing is left to be opened. Where that huge treasure was found.
Yeah. The Padmanabh temple.
Yeah. So
The
the
famous-
one is still left to be opened, no?
Yeah.
That there's the cobra on the,
Right.
and they're scared to open it or whatever.
When we build a temple, we keep you over there.
No, why? But why are they not opening that?
It's not right to open it. It's not right to open it. If you study this outside, you'll see some statues when you
Yeah,
come
I
in.
know, I know. You told me there was a temple earlier.
Yeah. So now, if you study this area where our hall is, and this, you'll see deep down there are walls, and there's a whole, what do you call, kind of community beneath, right? Full of statues and antiques. But the minute you go to open it, then you're inviting the whole archaeological society and everyone to come. So we just covered it. We don't want to, what do you call, take it out. Remains hidden. Remains hidden.
But this is something they know about. No? They can open it.
If they get to know about it.
Well, they know what is there. That thing is there, it's sealed, but they are waiting to. I don't know why.
Where?
They've opened this other.
Yeah,
the
but
other crypts they've opened.
so
But
if
this
we
one-
open it and bring out everything, then they will get, it invites people. So we just covered all this. You see, we built all
no,
this.
this is okay, but that one they know. The Padmanath temple.
They know, but they won't open it. They won't open it. They won't open it.
No, they say. I mean, various theories are there why they are not opening it.
They won't open it.
Any reason?
Hmm?
Any reason why?
See, in our Hindu tradition, Raj means the Raja, is also a word for consciousness, and it is also the word for gold. Can you understand what I'm trying to say? So, gold is handled by only conscious people. Now, if the gold goes into the wrong hands, then it is like a curse. It becomes a curse, right? So, what do you call? It's better that room is closed only, kept closed only. Yeah. Where are we?
Then were born many Rajarshis, endowed with every
Very
noble quality. The water, heaven, earth, wind, sky, and the directions, the years, seasons, months, fortnight, day, and night followed in succession.
Right. So all this was created out of that one egg, right? All this was created, right? Again, when you move into tantra, all this will take on a very different language, very, very different language, right?
The world witnessed everything else that came forth. When the world is immersed in the decay of the era, everything that can be seen, movable and immovable, is again brought together.
Right. So at the end of the era, right, everything that is seen will again go back into emptiness, and this process will continue.
As the season changes, signs of the season can be seen.
Yeah.
Like that, at the beginning of another era, everything is produced again.
What are the signs? What are the signs that one era is getting over and a new one is starting? What are the signs?
Mind moving, thinking gets faster, heart gets slower.
What gets slower?
Living in heart,
Acha. What else? What are the signs? What are the signs? Supposing an era is starting. An era is starting. What is happening when things are starting? Everything is slow. It is moving at bullock cart speed. Everything is moving at bullock cart speed. So when you take a unit time, less and less is happening in more and more time. Can you understand? Try to see man's time and the time, external time, the time of life. So when man is the first cell in the mother's womb, more and more is happening in less and less time. That one cell becomes two, two becomes four, the whole brain is created, this, that, and everything. In that 9 months, so much is happening in that 9 months, right? And now science says in the first month only the cell goes through all the stages of evolution, right? So much is happening in that 9 months, right? Time is moving so fast in those 9 months that it never moves so fast till the end of life. He never experiences that time of the cell again. He comes out as a child, he's left the time of the cell in the womb. Can you understand? And as man grows up, what does he sense? How does he feel? What is happening with time?
Comes in touch of light.
No. Time slows down. You see, today by the end of the day, I'm 68 years old. So if I say by the end of the day, what have I done today? And I'll say nothing. So in so much of time, I can only do so much. But when I was young, in so much of time, I could do so much. Still, man lives in the illusion that 1 hour is 1 hour. 1 hour is not 1 hour. 1 hour is not 1 hour. 1 hour of 20-year-old and 1 hour of 70-year-old, there's a vast difference between 1 hour. Right? So time, as we grow older, time cheats us. So man's time moves from very fast to very slow, and civilization's time moves from very slow to very fast. And when the civilization comes to a stage where more and more is happening in less and less time, now the, what do you call, thing is coming, that this era is coming to an end and a new era is going to start. Now the indications have started coming in, right? So if you see today, so much is happening in less and less time, right? I see some people on Facebook. 1 month I see them, they're in Honduras. 1 month I see them, they're in Australia. 1 month they have nothing to do but to now. In the old days, to even think of going to Honduras, or what do you call? Can you imagine, right? I mean, they're doing so much, right? Is happening in less and less time, right? So, and if you look at the, what do you call, technological revolution, right? When the floppies first came out, right? I mean, we couldn't imagine you could talk of GB and MB and TB and whatever the other thing, and suddenly everything changed, right? So, more and more is happening in less and less time. This is telling us that the death of the era is round the corner. It is round the corner. Yeah.
Without beginning and without end, the wheel of existence rolls on eternally in this world.
But in that Mahakal, in that time where there is no beginning and no end, what difference does it make? It's not even a drop in the ocean. One era is not even a drop in the ocean.
Causing creation and destruction without beginning and without end.
Right. Krishna says the beginning and end of things can never be seen. What we see and enjoy are just the middle. Just the middle.
To give a brief example of creation, there are 33,333 gods. The sons of the divine Vivaswat were Brihad Bhanu, Chakshus, Atma, Vibhavasu, Savita, Richika, Arka, Bhanu, Ashwaha, and Ravi.
Yes. Now we just go through this lineage because we don't want to stop here.
Of these sons, Mahya was the youngest, and his son was Devabrat. also known as Subhraj. Subhraj had three famous sons named Dashajyoti, Shatajyoti, and Sahasrajyoti, and each of them gave birth to many offspring.
Yeah.
The great Dashajyoti had 10,000 sons. The self-possessed Shatajyoti had 10 times that number, and Sahasrajyoti had 10 times the number of offspring Shatajyoti had. From them,
1.4 billion were created, right? Okay.
From them were descended the line of the Kurus, the Yadus, and the Bharatas, the lines of Yayati, Ikshwaku, and all the Rajarshis.
So, from these three, Dashajyoti, Shatajyoti, and Sahasrajyoti, right? All these lines descended. Which lines? The Kurus, the one who's doing, the Yadus, the one who are making effort, the Bharatas, the one who are throwing light, right? And from them the lines of Yayati to do, Ishkavaku, the one which is very sweet like sugar cane, and the Rajarishis, the one who sought consciousness.
Many other lineages and diverse living beings were created, and their various places of residence. The three mysteries of knowledge, the Ved, Yog, and Vignan, were created, as were Dharma, Artha, and Kam.
The three mysteries of knowledge, right? Dharma, Artha, and Kam. Sorry, the three mysteries of knowledge. The Vedas, that is, through knowing, yoga, through instinctive and through action, right? And Vignan, right? Through science, right? The different paths were created at that time. The different pathways were created at that time. As were Dharma, Artha, and Kama.
The sage saw the various Shastras interspersed with Dharma, Artha, and Kama, and the rules of conduct for the world. He saw the ancient histories and all their commentaries and the Shruti texts too.
Now the sage, he's definitely talking about Ved Vyasa over here, right? I mean, he had direct communication called Shruti. Shruti is the direct communication where the Shastras come down. What are the two kind of Shastras in the Hindu tradition? Which are the two kind of Shastras in the Hindu tradition? Shruti and Smruti. Shruti and Smruti. Right? So, what is the difference between Shruti and Smruti?
Shruti means direct here.
Hmm.
And Smruti means when a thought comes in between
Yeah.
at the time of direct.
So, one, the rishis heard directly, and some rishis, they heard directly, but a thought intervened. And those were called as Smrutis. The Mahabharat is a Smruti. The Upanishads are a Shruti. The Upanishads, the Vedas are a Shruti. They were heard and they were written without any interference of thought. They were heard and written with no interference. All the 6 darshans are Shrutis. Right? They were heard and written down. But the Mahabharat, the Ramayana, the Puranas were all Smruti. Smruti.
This book has the signs of all those. Everything is here. Having
So he's saying the Mahabharat contains both Shruti and Smruti. Everything is over here in this book.
Then the Gita is Shruti. Then in that
Shruti. The Gita part of the Mahabharata
is the
Shruti.
only one, the only Shruti here.
There are many Gitas in the Mahabharata.
Acha, but what we are referring to, in this context.
Shruti.
But is there any other section in the Mahabharata that is a Shruti?
That we will have to see. We'll have to see. But see, there's this Gita, because it was said by Sri Krishna, it is called the Bhagavad Gita,
Ah.
the Holy Gita, the Bhagavad Gita. But there are many other sermons in the Mahabharata. Many other sermons in the Mahabharata.
Having distilled this great knowledge, the sage made a summary of all that in both abridged and detailed forms.
So he wrote two Mahabharats, the abridged version and the detailed version.
As a storehouse of knowledge for the retention of the wise of this world. Some read Bharat from the story of Manu, others from the story of Astik,
Just leave it out.
still others from the story of Uparichar. Some Brahmanas read the entire text.
Right? So some read parts and some read the entire text. So the part is some 24,000 slokas and the entire text is 100,000 slokas. Right?
Learned men display their knowledge of the Samhitas by commenting on this collection.
Samhitas is the collections. The collections.
Some are skilled in explaining it, others in remembering it. After penance and austerities, after having classified the eternal Vedas, Satyavati's son composed this holy history.
A printer got spoilt, so we had to. I written a note on Parashar in the morning. Right. Right, here it is. Okay.
Penance and austerities, after having classified the eternal Vedas, Satyavati's son composed this holy history.
Satyavati's son is Vyas. Ved
Here
Vyas.
it is Vyas, then
Huh?
later on,
Huh?
here it is Vyas.
But
Right now, Satyavati gives
son
birth
is
to
Vyas.
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 The same Satyavati later on
Huh.
marries Shantanu.
Shantanu. And
And
she gives rise to two children, Chitrangad and Vichitravirya. Vichitravirya.
This learned Brahmarshi, the son of Parashar, followed pure vows.
So Vyas was the son of Parashar. Right? The son of Parashar. Who was Parashar? Who was Parashar? We talked about the war between Vishwakarma and Vashishta. Did we talk about the war between Vishwakarma and Vashishta?
at some other time we have.
Right. So in that war, Vishwakarma kills all of Vashishth's children. And this, for a long time, Vashishta, who is the greatest Rishi, the Brahma Rishi, the greatest Rishi, all his children have died and he's in a state of depression. He's in a state of depression. And he tries to give up his life in so many ways, but nature does not allow him. Right? He would jump off a mountain, the wind would come and save him. He would jump into flooded waters, the waters would put him on the side. Right? So he tries and he realizes that it is not possible. Then he comes back home and his daughter-in-law, that is the wife of one of the sons, says that I am bearing your son's child, and that was Parashar. So Parashar was Vashish's grandson, right? And that is Parashar. Parashar means, Shar means to decay, to die, and Para is the one who is gone beyond death. Not only that, we can also say that the person who has the, what do you call, power to enliven the dead. To enliven the dead. Right? So, where do we see this? In which scripture?
Again, we can go back to Satyavati.
No, which other scripture? Not in India.
Then
Jesus.
there is Jesus.
Huh? What was his name? Rise from his grave. What did he? Huh? Lloyd? Huh? Lazarus. Lazarus, rise from your grave. And Lazarus rises from the grave, right? So, Parashar, the power to enliven people, give life to people, right? Okay.
Followed pure vows requested by his mother, and at the request of the wise son of Ganga, Krishna Dvaipayan lawfully became the father of 3 sons in Vichitravirya's field.
Yes. So, Chitrangad, right? Satyavati had 2 children through Shantanu. Chitrangad died at a very early age, right? Now, try to understand this terminology. That Chitrangad is the thought form. Yeah, the thought form. So before we have a thought, there is a thought form. But for all of us, thought forms are dead. We can only understand thought as a language. We cannot understand thought as a form. As we practice deeper and deeper levels of visualization, we move from thought as a language to thought as a form. Thought as a form. Can you understand this, right?
So that is Chitra.
Chitrangad.
But Chitrangad का जो चित्र वर्जन हिस्सा है, that is form. But what is Angad or
Angad is what do you call the limbs of the body, the organs.
Anga?
Anga.
Anga.
The
Okay.
organs.
Organs. Okay, fine.
And Vichitravirya. What is Vichitravirya? In Gurdjieffan terms, how will we classify Vichitravirya? Vichitravirya. Virya is sex energy. Virya is sex energy. What is Vichitravirya? Come on, in Gurdjieffan terms. Prod, use your prod.
Let's break it down. Okay, let me ask them to break it down. अभी तो बात किया चित्र is form, विचित्र.
No, perverted form. Perverted form. So what does Gurdjieff say about the sex center and sex energy? What does he say? Come on, you're also allowed. Come on, yeah, you've not been listening to me all this time. I have to prod these guys also. उसको वो solitary confinement मिलने वाला है. Okay, how is sex energy created? How is sex energy created? What goes into the creation of sex energy? Can you switch this off from there? How is sex energy created? We eat the food. Where does the food go first? Stomach. Right? So it goes right down. Goes right down. Right? From that food, what is the first thing which is extracted? I don't need this. Right? What is the first thing which is extracted? Magnetism. Right? So magnetism is extracted a little higher in the heart. Right? Then the food goes into the brain. From there, motor electricity and what do you call reflex electricity are extracted. And then the food goes right down to the lowest layer of the body and sex energy is extracted. Now, what does Gurdjieff say on this journey from the brain to the lower story? What does he say? On sex energy, sex center. Which is true, right? Which is true. That when the sex energy goes down, it is going down to be what do you call to deposit in the lower center, the sex center. It has to pass through the heart. It has to pass through the heart. And in the heart, there are negative emotions. So every time I'm angry on her or I call her something, I do this, what am I losing? That energy which is going down is getting perverted. Vichitra virya is getting perverted. So he says, man does not have real sex energy. The sex energy which man has is a total victim of excitement. Man cannot think of sex without excitement. It is beyond his imagination what it means to have sex without excitement. Can you understand what I'm trying to say? Right? So that is Vichitra Virya. The quality of man's sex energy is of such a low quality, which Gurdjieff calls, because it passes through here. All negative emotions here are here. They waste the energy. Actually, he says the sex center doesn't run on its own energy. It runs on energy from the instinctive center, because all the other centers are stealing from the sex center. The intellectual, the emotional, the moving, all of them steal from the sex center. Right? Now, where will we see this? Especially in weightlifters. Especially in weightlifters. And a study has been done on this. No, about the quality of sex energy. They have to take outside things to increase the testosterone. They have to take supplements to increase the testosterone. Can you see? So the moving center to more weights, more jumping, more this thing, instead of using moving center energy, it is stealing from the sex center. Then when it steals from the sex center, I will jump, which is the record which cannot be broken in all of athletics. Which is the record which cannot be broken? Long jump. Whose record is it? Whose record is it? Bob Beamon. Bob Beamon. And he created this record in the Olympics of 1968 in Mexico City. In Mexico City. He had never had a jump over 26 feet. And you're given 3 jumps. You're given 3 jumps in the finals. You're given 3 jumps. And the best of 3 is what is counted. So he took the first jump and he jumped 29 feet. It had never happened before. He broke all the world records, everything. At that moment, he knew it would never happen again. And he says, I don't want my next 2 jumps. He sat down on a chair and just observed everything. Right? So what must have happened? The moving center must have connected with the sex center, use that energy, right? And when the sex center gets depleted, if you see in many, many athletes, right, they suffer from low sperm count, especially weightlifters. And you can see Vichitra Virya, because they use the sex energy for their athleticism, right? And some days you can see, cricketer is hitting sixer after sixer. He's just touching the ball, right? The moving center is connecting with the sex energy, not using moving center energy. One day I get angry on her, then I'm connected with the emotional center. But now my anger suddenly jumps, and you see my anger in what you call like a tidal wave in full fury. My anger is there. Suddenly the anger is connected with the sex center. All this is Vichitra Veera. So she had two children, Vichitra Veerya and Chitrangad. Right? Vichitra Veerya could not give what you call have children. He could not have children. So Vyas had to come and have children through the what you call two wives of Vichitra Veerya. All these stories are so deep these stories are, each one of them, right?
These three Kauravas were like the three fires.
Like three fires, right? Go ahead.
The three fires are the Surya, Chandra, Agni, or
The
three fires here are
Pandu, fire of the intellectual center, Dhritarashtra, fire of negative emotions, and Vidur, the fire of the instinctive center.
After thus giving birth to Dhritarashtra, Pandu, and Vidur, he returned to his hermitage to pursue the wise path of austerities.
So in India in those days, you see the arguments which led to this. The arguments were very beautiful. And they will come as we go deeper into the Mahabharat. The arguments will come. And Vichitra Veerya dies without any child. So Satyavati, who is the mother, calls Bhishma. Right? Bhishma was Shantanu's first son, right? Through Ganga. And says that now there is no heir, you have to, what do you call, sire children through these. So he refuses. He says, I have taken a vow of, he had taken not a vow of celibacy, a vow of not getting married. Not getting married. So now what to do? So then, what do you call, Bhishma says that in the old days, when Parshuram killed all the Kshatriyas, the wives of the Kshatriyas had to meet with Brahmins to have children. So the new, what do you call, generation of Kshatriyas, which was born after that, were the children of Brahmins. Right? So she says, you've given me an excellent suggestion, because she knew the greatest Brahmin was her own child. Her greatest Brahmin was her own child, the Rishi Vyas, and she sends for Rishi Vyas and orders him to do this. Otherwise, he would not have done it. But he did it out of his, what do you call, love for his mother,
Sab, two things here.
Yeah.
One is Bhishma then, because of the relationship, he's Shantanu's son.
Right.
And Shantanu is gone. Satyavati is his wife.
Right.
And so there are two things over here. One is Satyavati asks Shantanu's son to, let's say, copulate with her or marry her, which he says, I cannot do that because I've taken a vow. Then she asks her own son. Now, in normal society, this will be unheard of. So the moment that we say perverse, Vichitra Veerya, that is not the perversion of social things that we're talking about.
No, the quality of sex energy.
That's what I'm saying, just to...
Quality, not the perversion of social norms. If you go to some of the things in the, what do you call, Mahabharat, they'll blow your mind. We will go later on into some of the stories, I've forgotten. And there was this very dutiful, what do you call, disciple of the Guru. Right? And after a woman goes through her menstrual cycle, she comes into a fertile period. And in those days, that fertile period was very, what do you call, important, right? That there must be a meeting in that fertile period, right? Otherwise, certain what do you call incompleteness remains in this thing, right? So you will see later on as those stories come, because we're going to read all the 10 volumes, right? So here we see the guru has to go on a trip somewhere, and he sees that his wife is going to come into the fertile period. So he tells his disciple, you please take care of her during the fertile period. So that was a different society. We cannot imagine. It was more Western than today's Western society, right? So we can't comment on that society.
Just bringing it to everyone's notice that what we call perversion, or even when we use the word perversion in this context, it is not what we define as perverse, but this is of a
No,
higher
the
nature.
quality of the sex energy is such that it cannot give rise to what you call uh, children with a good aura. Children with a good aura. That.
Until these sons were born, grew up, and passed on to the supreme journey, the great sage did not reveal Bharat to the world of men.
Now, this is very beautiful over here. Very, very beautiful. That what came first? What came first? Did Vyas write the Mahabharat first, and did everything follow? Or was did the Mahabharat happen, and did Vyas write it later on? So in India we have a saying. We have a saying that because Valmiki wrote the Ramayana, Ram had to come. Because Valmiki wrote the Ramayana, he had to come and enact the play. He had to come and enact the play. Similarly, he says that this whole thing was in his mind. This whole thing, just read that part again. A beautiful part it is.
Until these sons were born, grew up, and passed on to the supreme journey, the great sage did not reveal Bharat to the world of men.
Right. So he had already written it in his mind, but he did not reveal it to the world of men till these three were going to die. That is Dhritarashtra, Pandu, and Vidur. His three children. His three children. Dhritarashtra, Pandu, and Vidur. Right? So the play was already written. And we'll come to a chapter called Ansh Avtaran. Right? Where the play is going to take place in the dimension of man, in the space, time and space of man. But all the gods get together and they decide who is going to play which character. Yeah, so beautiful. One of the most beautiful chapters in the Mahabharata. And we'll come later on to a very deep chapter. Yeah.
Saab, I said 2 points, but I forgot about the other one. Now I remembered. Also, Bhishma is related to Vyas.
Bhishma is not related to Vyas.
The relationship is now being shown. Vyas is Satyavati's son.
Right.
And Satyavati is Bhishma's stepmother.
Stepmother. So there's no relationship. There's no blood relationship.
No blood relationship.
Right.
But some relationship.
There's a social relationship.
But within the body-brain system, a relationship exists.
No, there's a social relationship.
No, between the ego and the divine.
Right.
That relationship always exists.
That is there. That is there. Good.
When he was requested by Janmajaya and thousands of Brahmins, he taught it to his disciple Vaishampayan, seated in his presence.
Right. So the Mahabharata has come to us from Vaishampayan, who was the, what do you call, disciple of Vyas. Right? There is no, what do you call, we are not getting anything on Vaishampayan. Only thing he was the chief disciple of Vyas. Right?
It is also interesting that I have now noticed that he does not say Mahabharat over here. Twice is saying
Mahabharata came much later on.
Yes.
It was Jay. It was called Jai. That we said in the beginning.
Correct.
It was called Jai.
He says that revealed Bharat to the world of men, revealed or recited Bharat,
But you see, later on, disciples were allowed to add. Were allowed.
which means our country is not a country only, it is a play or a process or an idea and everything.
Seated with his compatriots, it was he, Vaishampayan, who recited Bharat at intervals during the sacrifice, being repeatedly asked to continue when he stopped.
So Vaishampayan recited the Mahabharat during the snake sacrifice.
Vyas has described in detail the great lineage of the Kurus, the virtues of Gandhari, the wisdom of Vidur, and the constancy of Kunti.
The virtues of Gandhari, right? She refused to see because her husband could not see. The virtues of Gandhari. The wisdom of Vidur. He had an instinctive knowledge, right? And the constancy of Kunti. She kept the secret of what you call Karna in her bosom right till the end. The constancy of Kunti, right?
The bl-
In yeah, you were asking something? No. In Gurdjieff, when we look at the centers through the playing cards, the instinctive center is which set of cards? Clubs. So the higher part of the instinctive center is the king of clubs. And in our lives, sometimes we experience this higher part of the instinctive center. And sometimes in life, you may feel that an accident is bound to happen, but your hand did this to the steering and the higher part of the instinctive center took over. At that moment, it opened up and took over. Can you understand what I'm trying to say? Sometimes a person who is totally drunk, right, and he's walking home in the middle of the night and he's swaying from here to here and suddenly he hears footfalls from the back. Fear comes to him, who's following me? And all the drunkenness goes away, and the king of clubs, the higher part of the instinctive center, is suddenly in that drunkenness, he becomes so aware of what is happening, right? Many people who have got the, right? So maybe they've had too much to drink. In the morning, they don't remember how they came home, but somehow they sat in their car and drove their car home. So the king of clubs is a very, very powerful card. It is the, the conscious part of the instinctive center. And Vidur is the king of clubs. Right? So, very, very powerful person in the Mahabharat. His wisdom is street wisdom, what we call street wisdom, right? So, this street wisdom, right? And many times when you go on a trip with friends and all, and you have to have taxis from somewhere and hotel rooms from somewhere, and so many other problems come up in a long, road trip and all that. But there'll be one person in the group who knows how to talk to the taxi driver. He knows how to get a hotel room from the, hotel chap. He knows how to manipulate everything. Where there is no food, how to get the food, everything. That is street intelligence.
We call it Bhagwati.
Huh?
We call it Bhagwati, that intelligence.
Vidur. Vidur. That is Vidur. Okay. Right, we go ahead.
आज आप थके नहीं अभी तक?
थक गया हूँ. I'm not
आपकी
allowing to be shown.
हाँ, okay.
I'm waiting for this paragraph to get over.
Okay.
The blessed sage has also described the greatness of Vasudev, the truth.
Truthfulness. Ah,
Yeah, go ahead.
The truthfulness of the Pandavas and the evil conduct of the sons of Dhritarashtra.
So we have three headings over here. He's putting the blessedness of Krishna, the blessedness of Krishna, who is each moment blessed. What is the difference between Krishna and Ram? What is the difference between Krishna and Ram? Krishna is called as Purna Purushottam and Ram is called as Maryada Purushottam. Maryada Purushottam is that he played the drama of life according to all the rules of society, living within those, living the Maryada of all those rules, right? Listening to his father, etc., etc. Krishna broke all the rules, right? What was needed in the present moment? In the present moment, if you have to take a pratigya, take it, right? In the next moment, you have to break it, you break it. But Bhishma would not break it, right? So, Bhishma was also the eighth son. Krishna was also the eighth son. When Krishna was born, the doors of the prison opened automatically. Bhishma lived his whole life in the prison of his pratigya. Can you understand? Right? So, when consciousness enters into the body-brain system, all conditioning breaks automatically. All conditioning breaks automatically. Right? And there are many comparisons we can do between Bhishma and this. And these are two characters in the Mahabharat, parallel characters. Right? Right? And Bhi means the one who is frightened, the one who frightens. Bhi means the one who frightens. So, when you're 4 years old, 5 years old, the ego frightens the soul into going to sleep. Right? And that is the Bhishma. The Bhishma is taken over. Right? Now, he'll go according to his pratigya in life. So, Krishna, every moment, what was needed was his, this thing, that is why he's called Purna Purushottam. Krishna was totality. That is why Purna. Right? So, somebody can go and murder someone. And he can go in the court and say that Sri Krishna has said in the Bhagavad Gita, the body only dies, the Atma does not die. I have not murdered anybody. Can you see? So, Krishna, from all angles, he engulfs life. From all angles, he engulfs life. Right? So, that is why he's called the Purna Purushottam, and Ram is called as the Maryada Purushottam. So he says the blessedness of Vasudev, the blessedness of Vasudev. In which of our celebrations is Krishna denied entry? Which of our celebrations is Krishna denied entry? Come on, you. Which celebrations is Krishna denied entry? Marriage. In no marriage, all the marriage ceremonies are what Ram did to Sita. What happened between Ram and Sita. There is no marriage ceremony connected with Krishna. If you see all the songs of marriage, none of them are, you will allow the name Krishna. And no father-in-law will say that I want a Jamai like Krishna. He'll say I want a Jamai like Ram, but definitely not a Jamai like Krishna. Can you see? Right? So I mean, Krishna is allowed entry everywhere, but he's not allowed entry in the marriage. This thing, right? So that is the Krishna's, the blessedness of Krishna. Why is she laughing so much? There's some mystery over there. She is laughing. I'm not laughing. She is laughing. No, I'm a poor old guy with no intelligence. You have to tell me, in explicit words. We'll stop over here. We'll
No,
stop.
finish the paragraph, just what you said. है ना?
The truthfulness of the Pandavas. The truthfulness of the Pandavas. Right? So, the purity of the Pandavas, the purity of Yudhishthira. Right? And the purity was that they did not want anything which was not theirs. Duryodhana wanted everything which did not belong to him. They did not want anything which was not theirs, the Pandavas. And the evil conduct of the sons of Dhritarashtra. Right? And if you see Duryodhan, Dushasan, many of the names of the sons of Dhritarashtra start with Du. Start with Du. Yeah. We'll do this in the afternoon now. We'll do this, right? Okay.
May I ask?
You reminded me that I was tired.
My fault, साहब. मेरी गलती हो गई है.
It's called self-remembering.
To remember you is my self-remembering.
It's
एक
been a...
प्रश्न पूछ दूं साहब.
Oh, yeah,
Because
go
वो
ahead, yeah.
या दो अगर अपने को उतना समय मिल जाता है. एक तो शुरुआत में इतिहास वर्ड था and वो बराबर से कभी उन लोगों ने कभी कहीं पे भी एक्सप्लेन नहीं किया. You have once to me इतिहास. If you can just touch upon that. The breaking down of the word itihas.
Iti means what is. Us. You sit down and listen to what is. So this is the story of what is. Right? I had a wonderful history teacher in my school. And the thing is, I've not forgotten history because maybe of that teacher. And so he used to divide it into two parts. He story and she story. So he's saying history is he story, but what we talk to others is all she story. She story. Right? So history is history. Right?
So that was one thing. And the other, because I'd forgotten it earlier, and there was some context earlier, and now there is no context, but I will, if you permit me, I will go and ask that question. Go ahead and ask that. We spoke about the Pandavas went to heaven after they finish everything, and now while in their path to heaven, each one of them keeps dropping off the cliff, and the dog follows them, and that turns out to be his father. And in the end, only there's Yudhishthira and the dog left. So why a dog? Why the form of a dog does he have to take and not any other animal?
That's a difficult question to answer. Very difficult question to answer. We'll ponder upon it.
Yes, sir.
We'll ponder upon it. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, sir.
We are meeting at 4:30.
4:30, yes.
Okay.